Brent crude prices fell today as supplies from Russia and Saudi Arabia increased. Is this a buying opportunity, or is there more selling ahead? Fast Money Traders with us, Tim Seymour and Dan Nathan. What's the trade on energy? It's coming off of a pretty spectacular quarter here, and even since OPEC and allies reached that deal to increase production, it's been up.
Hey, Sarah. Well, ultimately, I think if you look at the E&P producers, they continue to outperform for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, you have better price realizations, especially in the Permian Basin, et cetera. But you also have companies that I think are running much more shareholder friendly in terms of capital. They're not trying to grow at any cost. In fact, I think Anadarko is going to buy back significant shares. And I think a lot of these guys will be offering share buybacks to support a share price that's already run.
Dan?
Yeah, one thing that really caught me with those announcements over the weekend and the president's tweeting is how resilient oil prices were. You would have thought maybe you would have had a little bit of a downdraft here, but I think a lot of people realize that this is something that's kind of necessary based on some of the foreign policy moves that the president has made as far as the price of oil. I'll just mention one thing. Go back to 2013, 2014 when oil topped out. It really topped out coincident with the end of QE and the signal to the end of ZIRP. And what happened there is that the dollar started to rally. We've had a dollar that's obviously been strengthening with interest rates going up. And at some point, I would expect that to have an effect on oil a little bit. At some point earlier this year, oil stocks were kind of stuck in the mud before we had this kind of most recent move. So to me, I actually am very skeptical of the oil trade here, especially when you see how emerging market equity indices are acting. We have the Shanghai Composite in a bear market right now.
But I mean, the emerging market world is some are reliant on commodity revenues. Some actually are very much pained by the higher commodity prices. So I think this is absolutely a global growth story to the extent you can make a fundamental bottom-up call and a top-down call on demand. But I still think it's how the sector is being run. I think, you talked about Russia and you talked about Saudi Arabia. I think OPEC, non-OPEC still have more cohesion than they've had in decades, frankly. And I think what's good for both sides is actually working. Putting 1 million barrels online 10 days ago was actually a good thing for markets. And I think we continue to hold and be defensive. That's the irony here. Energy is defensive in this tape.
Good discussion, guys. Up 13%, the energy sector in the last 3 months. ZIRP, of course, the acronym for zero interest rate policy.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.